Welcome everyone to the Galactica Corecast. This is a space for future Galactica Network citizens to have some fun, chat with the team, and learn everything you need to know about the very first cipher state. So before we start, it's very important to remember that myself, Cosmos Hoss, my co-host, and any team members up on stage, we are your guides to navigating the cipher state, but we are not your financial advisors. In addition, all guest speakers' opinions are their own, and nothing said in this space constitutes financial or investment advice. Fun doing disclaimers. I apologize all around, but it's got to be done. So let's go around the panel, introduce everyone for anyone who's listening who's new, and we'll get the show on the road. So firstly, Hoss, my regular co-host, mate, how you doing, dude? It's good to have you back. Sorry about the lack of the Tuesday space, but Fridays are good too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Friday's amazing. I look forward to Friday, although it seems like in general, Friday's kind of the day where people tune out live or just aren't as enthusiastic as for crypto right now. But I love Fridays because it's like, for me, it's like a sign of freedom. I really can just do and grind crypto all day, every day over the weekend and don't have to worry about anything. But Cosmos Hoss here, co-host, love crypto, excited for today's panel discussion. And so happy to be here. Hello, everyone.
It's good to have you on, mate. It's I get your feelings. I really do. Friday really does feel like a dead day sometimes, but it is. It's like you say. It's like kind of like the bear market analogy. When things are quiet, you can kind of get stuff done. It's a nice time. So today we also have Humpty from Ontology and various other networks. He's been up on our spaces many times before, and he's always appreciated for his input. How you doing, Humpty, man?
Hey, everyone. Good to be back. Thank you so much for the invitation. I know last time we had a really good conversation here and then back at our Twitter space as well. So I'm really excited to be back. If anybody's interested to know kind of what I do, I guess been in the space since roughly 2017, but more recently, I guess since 2020, building in the decentralized identity and data space. Built a reputation credential protocol last year and exploring on-chain loyalty rewards this year, but always with this idea of how can we incorporate privacy preserving tools into it all. So this should be a fun talk.
100%. Yeah. This new paper is an interesting one. I'm glad you caught yourself with the whole Twitter Spaces thing. It's X Spaces now. I think it's X Spaces. Got to remember that. Otherwise, Elon will get us. Thumbs down. Thanks, Hoss. I think we've also got A-Star.Gala with us, who is on our tech team. It's always amazing to get your insights, mate. How are you doing today?
Hello, everyone. Nice to be here. Thanks for the introduction, and also thanks for the nice intro music. I think it feels like somehow this is getting the official Galactica soundtrack. We should put it on Spotify or other open source alternatives and so on. My name is Frederick. You can also find me as A-Star here on X and Discord. I'm a software engineer working on Galactica Network. My kind of focus area is working on the zero-knowledge cryptography, writing how users can prove different statements, integrating this into the smart contracts, and also doing the thing in between, which is the wallet, where the user can hold zero-knowledge certificates in self-custody and then prove statements on-chain in a private and compliant way. Thanks that I can be here today. I think it's a great topic, this paper. And of course, it's always great to be in contact with the community, get feedback from users who are interested in the project.
100%, man. And also, I just want to let everyone know we've kind of made a return to this Friday space for a little bit. I enjoy this time slot, I really do, and I like the idea of having some more of a community space. So I want to make sure that everyone knows, if you want to, you can request to speak, and if you want to speak, please request early. That way we can just get you up and you can get involved in all the conversations as much as possible. So I think we'll get straight on with the show. We've got a pretty packed show, as we've kind of alluded to. We've got Vitalik's paper. We've also got a bunch of news. But we always generally begin this show, the Corecast, with the crypto news roundup. So we'll start right there. So first item on our list today, we've got Swift. So anyone who's not aware, Swift is kind of this Western-led banking infrastructure. So basically, it runs the world. Essentially, it runs the world of payments anyway. Basically, almost all banks use it. It's involved in essentially just the messaging system. The news is today that there's 3 central banks are working with Swift to test a CBDC interoperability solution. So this is Swift providing an interoperability solution for CBDCs. Nothing being said about any other assets, just CBDCs. They're working with Hong Kong and the Central Bank of Kazakhstan as the primary ones mentioned. The third one hasn't really been mentioned. So their innovation officer has basically said that they want to focus on interoperability between digital currencies and existing fiat-based currencies and payment systems. So you can see where this is going. This is kind of like the centralized alternative. So it's a centralized global alternative for blockchain, like the free and fair blockchain. It's an interesting development, having such a massive payment system rollout infrastructure for CBDCs. I guess we could have probably seen this coming. The Swift, if we end up with blockchain rails underpinning most of the financial sector, then Swift is going to have to get on that action, or they lose their position, essentially, I would guess. But I'm just kind of interested in, like, there's a bunch of stuff this kind of opens up, especially with Swift being governed primarily by Western-controlled countries, and like basically controlling all this banking infrastructure but actually controlling it for a lot of the Eastern countries as well. It just opens up a lot of problems I can see, especially along the lines of sanctions, as we've seen with Russia in recent times. So just wondering what you guys think of Swift essentially trying to roll out CBDC infrastructure for pretty much almost every country they're involved with. Maybe Hoss first, and we'll go around the table.
So, I mean, I haven't really been paying attention to like XRP, but isn't that like the whole thing with their whole play was like they're supposed to be like real big buddies, so to speak, with the Swift network?
I think that is one of their. I don't know if it's a partner, but yes, I have seen stuff about Swift and XRP. But I think XRP is more of a competitor than a partner.
I mean, I thought they were just basically partners. Like they were just going to use their infrastructure and just use the XRP ledger. But again, I haven't been paying attention to XRP in so long. Like full disclosure, I own some, just a bag to have, just in case it ever does. The lunatics are correct, and it does go to some astronomical amount, but I don't really pay attention too much to it. As for like Swift in general, I mean, they're all going to get into it. I mean, I just did a space on Wednesday with Provenance blockchain, and they're using Cosmos, but it's really they're just using blockchain. It's not like, hey, everyone, we're just it's DeFi and all this other stuff. It's just the tooling and playground for real world assets. I mean, they have over $8 billion of TVL on their chain, and no one knows about it because they're like, not that they're not trying to be in crypto, but they're specifically focused on TradFi. And eventually they'll get into DeFi and other tools, but they're just like they have the blueprint for people to come build things. And it was interesting speaking with them like behind the scenes and also like during the Twitter space to see like the individuals that are a part of this this blockchain and network, so to speak, have had 15-20 years of experience with like BlackRock and just every Fidelity, all these huge financial institutions, and it's coming, like I don't know how long it's going to take, but yeah, it's just a fact. Like it just takes so long right now for these entities or people that have real world assets under management or they own themselves, for them to take out a loan or get anything. So that we obviously know blockchain is instant settlement, like your stable coins instant, like everything's pretty much instant settlement compared to. I was just the other day, not to get off topic too far, but I was on one of my accounts as a banking account, and I wanted to add another external account to it, like another bank account, and it only allowed you to have two. And if I wanted to delete it, I physically had to call them to do it, and then like have to wait 3 days to use it. It's just like, what are we in? Like I can send anyone anything crypto. So, long story
Yeah,
short, it's
that's
coming.
just the difference.
It's coming.
That's just the difference between being your own bank and relying on a trusted third party, isn't it? Well, technically a trusted third party, quote unquote trusted. I've got a little bit of information, Hoss, on that. Swift is actually working with two private permission blockchains called Quorum and Corda, respectively. So no mention of XRP in this, as far as I can see. Humpty, what do you think, man, about like this global infrastructure layer led by Swift? You don't have to have an opinion if you don't want to.
Yeah, no, I was going to say I actually don't know enough about it to have any kind of good opinion about it, but I did want to kind of add something there to what was just being talked about in terms of our experience when we go to the bank, and just kind of that. Well, it seems like ages to just get any funds moved across accounts or just anything done in the traditional banking system. I just came from permissionless, and Eric Voorhees actually did the opening talk, and I mean the way that he described permissioned banking, permissioned systems, and compared that to like the permissionless of these the crypto economy and just crypto powered tools is just really powerful. Well, one of the things that he said that really just connected to the story that was just shared previously is that cash, he compared it to cash, where said some people may say it's like, well, why not cash? Cash is permissionless. But then he immediately reminded us that try to move $10,000 in cash across borders, and you're going to have a lot of questions coming your way. And also just in terms of just money in general, in traditional banking systems, we have the permission to own it, but we don't necessarily have the permission to kind of use it with or do what we want with it without their permission. So it's a really interesting kind of framing, and I think for most of us who are in the space and have been in the space for some time, it doesn't come as any surprise. But really, just to kind of talk about like the permissionlessness of crypto, I think it's a powerful narrative, and certainly I think one that causes these, I guess, governmental organizations to take notice, and as we see more recently, try to either dissuade or block or regulate some of the way that this operates, because it certainly doesn't work in the way that their systems operate. So that's just my thought, and I wanted to kind of just tack that on to the conversation that was being had there. And I'm probably doing a terrible job at summarizing the talks. I would recommend anybody probably Eric Voorhees has already reposted it on their account, so go take a look. It's about 50 minutes, but it's well worth it.
Hey, Humpty, don't do yourself down, man. With your takes are really appreciated. I think like it's one of those situations where you've got a traditional system trying to catch up, and I think Swift trying to make like global infrastructure based on private permission blockchains and all this stuff. It's just this catch-up mechanism in the face of crypto, which is unbiased and permissionless for all, which I think is the only way you can really make a global financial system in any way that everyone can actually adopt it. It can't be it can't be biased in too many ways, except obviously financially. Frederick, mate, what do you think, mate?
Yeah, I don't have much to add. I completely agree with you that permissionlessness is really important for an interoperability standard. So yeah, I guess the way they currently might want to build it in a centralized way that might get caught up in geopolitics or whatever is not that good for what the interoperability should achieve. So I'm silently hoping that it turns out in these experiments that maybe it's a better idea to just run maybe CBDC on Cosmos SDK and then use IBC between it, because as such a open standard is, in my opinion, superior.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Okay, so that was the news on Swift. We'll move very swiftly to the second topic. Sorry, I apologize to everyone. Deutsche Bank has partnered with Taurus, which is like a small Swiss-based crypto firm to offer digital asset custody and tokenization services. So this is probably the largest German bank, I believe. They manage assets of about $1.4 trillion. So it's a pretty sizable chunk of change. And they are going headfirst, it seems. They actually, for reference, they actually invested in Taurus, this small company, in their funding round, Series B, in February. But yeah, it seems like a lot of the European banks in general are going really like headfirst into crypto in a more serious manner right now. So I just kind of wanted to open up the discussion to more, not necessarily this article specifically, but more the overall landscape, and your guys' opinions on like the really vastly different adoption rates and strategies being implemented at like nation state, regional levels globally. America seems to be, and their SEC, their enforcement agencies seem to be really anti at the moment, at least under the current administration, and forcing innovation out, while the Western countries are kind of like trying to make the regulation work in at least a workable manner. So they're not like going head first, but they are trying to make sensible regulation at least. And then in the in Eastern countries and then like Hong Kong and Singapore, specifically, they're really going like they're trying their best. It seems like if they're trying their best is probably the wrong word, but they're adopting it. They're trying to become the global center for it. So that's what I kind of just want to discuss. Like, what is your opinion on the global landscape, and who do you think is adopting crypto in the right way or in the best way? Hoss, maybe.
So I don't really keep up with everything outside, of America when it comes to like regulations, and I do know that there are countries that are more for it. And if I had to give you my hypothesis on why America's taking longer, there's a few factors. One, everything in the world is priced in the dollar still, so that they some people don't see some sort of urgency, And I mean, yes, the dollar is weaker than it's all every fiat gets weaker over time, but it's still pretty much a strong currency compared to most currencies, if not all currencies. So like there's that still, and then also. Um, it's not election season yet. I think it's going to be a really big thing next year because it's bipartisan. It doesn't matter if you're on the left or the right. If you're running, it's a big thing. And all elections, especially nowadays, are really decided by the youth. And it's a fact. I mean, young people like crypto. They want crypto. And if someone's going to run for office and you're going to be anti-crypto, you're not going to win. You're just not going to win the election. So, they're gonna open up to it. Even the current administration, which seems to be, for the most part, pretty much anti-crypto, they're going to change their perception, or else they'll lose the election. And everyone's competitive; they want to win. So, like, I think it's going to change real soon. It can happen with the flip of the switch. I mean, it kind of has to happen anyways. I think America's like 247 years old or so. And the first 245 and a half-ish years, there was $10 trillion ever printed. And then in the last 18 months of that, of the America's age, $10 trillion were printed. So, like people just don't get it. Like crypto is kind of the only solution. And right now they're all grasping at thin air to find ways to bring in money and revenues because I mean that's 10 trillion. Like you'd have to I don't even know the math on that, but you'd have to spend a dollar like every second for like the next 3,000 years to that's how much that money is, It's just insane to think about it in that context.
That's absolutely insane,
It's
mate.
insane.
Absolutely insane.
So like you need crypto.
Just a second, Hoss. I want to ask you a very quick question then. Do you feel like, from the American's perspective, do you feel like this is maybe the first year or like the first 12 months or maybe the first election cycle in which crypto is being treated as a viable competitor to the traditional financial system at a government level?
Absolutely. Like I think it's going to be a really big talking point whenever I don't know whoever's on the right, say it's Trump, and whoever's on the left, we'll just say Biden and Trump, and which is hilarious to think of because they're just the oldest people ever, both of them. Like combined age is probably like 170 years old. But anyways, it's going to be a huge talking point, and like I'm a firm believer that the youth, especially now since technology is like it's just everywhere, that the youth pretty much just dictates the election now, and so it's obvious that the millennials and younger people love technology. I mean, I think the new kids now, I mean, obviously they can't vote, but they're called like iPad babies now. That's like the term that I've heard of like new babies. It's hilarious. But yeah, I mean, I think
I can relate to that.
it's honestly gonna be a very big talking point. Like there might be a couple other things too, like they'll throw inflation again, but like then you could tie that into crypto. Like okay, there's only X amount of Bitcoin, and have some sort of like role based theory as opposed to just well you can print whenever you decide to print and all this other stuff. And yeah, I think that this next cycle is going to be kind of desperation for the financial realm of things, and then also, you're going to have people like I don't know what the right's going to do, but like I think one of their talking points is going to be like, well, you have all these brilliant engineers and developers that are American based, and we're the ones that pretty much invented, all technology, and you have them go in other places in the region because of your bad policies, your lack of leadership, et cetera, et cetera. And then it's going to be like a back and forth. But I think at the end of the day, it's all going to be a lot of this cycle is going to be about crypto.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I think I agree with you. So we've got kind of the American perspective. Humpty, what do you think, man? Do you think if you were to pick a league table of adoption of crypto, who would you put as the winners right now on a regional, like global standpoint?
I think that that's a hard question, right? Because I think that there's quite a few different examples of crypto adoption. I mean, you could look at Central America and South America, and there's a level of adoption there. I mean, it's hard to not look at El Salvador and say, they're leading the way in terms of the government seeing the value of that and the opportunity, probably better said, right? Because it's always going to be a little bit selfish in terms of how tools can assist us, and seeing how the widespread adoption across that country. But that would limit it to just saying, okay, crypto or Bitcoin is crypto and crypto is Bitcoin. Like there's of course, I think for Galactica and Ontology as an example, like crypto is also the cryptographic tools at our disposal for creating self-sovereign identities, and private reputation and such. So you look at like identity as another like vehicle for crypto adoption. There's countries in Europe, I think, who are doing a fantastic job at leveraging that and providing their citizens with these self-sovereign identity identifiers that are usable in a way that it's still not available to the archaic systems that we have for generating human identity or proof of humanity, if you will. So I think that to me is kind of like, it depends on what side of the, I guess, technology you want to amplify. But I think probably the argument right now that we're having is primarily driven by the more financial tools. And I would say, in terms of, like, at least I'm based out of the U.S., so I can only kind of speak with more knowledge about that. The only thing that I would say is the tools at our disposal, at the disposal of the U.S. also, to kind of take it on and build on these rails. Like, they've been proven both as a much more efficient, time and cost efficient way of doing that, but also in ways to protect privacy and also to just allow for, I guess, more inclusive way, financial inclusion. So, I guess if the question would be is there a way, or I guess, are there enough incentives for governments to, kind of leverage this technology? Absolutely. But the problem, and this is only my opinion, of course, is that it reduces kind of some of that control. It obfuscates some of that, I guess, visibility into, how people transact. And it just generally, and a word that's overused but can't be more true, it decentralizes it away from institutional actors. And so when I look at something like Swift, not to go back in time a bit, I see them, and by them I mean like governments and centralized institutions, building their own systems because the decentralized systems just won't work for them. They want systems that they still have a level of control over them. So, I think that what I would like to see, and I think that this is just generally something that I've talked about in the past, where crypto adoption, this is a long-term game. This isn't just like what's going to happen tomorrow. I think it's going to happen over time. We're going to see the introduction of centralized solutions with a taste of decentralized technology, and there's going to be a kind of a group of people that are going to start to move across to like these decentralized systems because it just works better for them, and they've already had a taste of how that works. And initially, I was thinking, centralized exchanges play a valuable role in terms of like crypto onboarding, but once people have their first, crypto, whether it's like a fraction of a Bitcoin or a full Bitcoin, if you're lucky enough to have that, and you have a non-custodial wallet that you can associate to that through that centralized exchange, then that allows you to kind of mobilize into this more decentralized ecosystem. So I know it's a very long-winded answer, but hopefully there's an answer in there somewhere for the question that you asked.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of value in that answer, Humpty. There really was. Hoss, please, mate, continue.
Yeah, so to add to that, I mean, essentially that's what that Provenance was doing. Like, if people really don't know what a HELOC loan is, it's like when you home equity line of credit on your real estate or asset. And I don't know all the players, but there are partners with 5 of the top 10 in that space. And like before crypto, before their solution, it would take, I think the individual said 30 to 45 days on average to get this particular type of loan. And now I mean, it would be instantly, but they have to wait a little bit of a process. It's less than a few days though. And yeah, their whole play is it's decentralized. Their own app chain on Cosmos. They're not even connected to any other chains in Cosmos. It's just they're just leveraging the Cosmos SDK, but they could be interoperable and do any of that stuff. But yeah, they just have devs and teams building the tooling for a team that wants to have a lending protocol, but specifically for TradFi, where they have to be KYC and everything else. And it's very interesting to see that play out. And I've always said, and this probably not exactly what we're talking about, but I think in this space we always get this like persona, if it's us versus them. And some bankers are probably not cool people, but I think there are people in the TradFi world that aren't bad people or bad actors, just like the same in the DeFi world. And I think that kind of, I agree with that point, and there will be a blend of both. And I think there's going to be chains and applications and everything else where it's kind of dealer's choice, or you can have a chain, like a Galactica could be, both. It could be, okay, this application here, the only way you can interact with it is if you're 100% KYC, and but you can also go over to this application and it could be both or neither, and not to show Cosmos technology, but that is, it allows it more easily, more readily, and more interoperable.
I'll happily show Cosmos technology, Yost. It's fine.
I mean, what was cool, just like last point with his name was Joshua Maddox, and he was in the TradFi world for like 20 years before he got into this space. And he was saying it, because I asked him like, why Cosmos, and that's exactly what he told me, because you're your own chain. You don't need to, basically you don't have any, in a sense, you don't have any landlords, you don't have any people to tell you what to do. All you have to do is just keep up with the updates, and then your chain is good to go. So,
well, this is it, and this is kind of like the cipher state concept. I like this. Like, this is how I view the cipher state concept, anyway. In which, if you have Galactica Network, for instance, which is a cipher state, hopefully and it's the first true cipher state, and other people might call them network states. But the point is that if you don't like the way we do things, if you for instance, don't like the governance system, or if you don't like certain aspects of the privacy that's provided, anything really, you could choose to instead use another cipher state. If there is another cipher state that's born on Galactica Network, for instance, Ontology Network could be considered a cipher state in its own right. If you could choose to jump over there. It's just the whole point of our technology is you have choice. The whole point of blockchain and crypto is that you have this choice to be a self-sovereign human individual, and it's one of those things that I think, as far as adoption goes, is very important to educate people on. Is that's what crypto represents? Is this choice to be yourself, and your choice to own your assets, to own your own data, and to, more importantly, control yourself, your identity, and everything you own. Frederick, sorry, I'll just ask you the same kind of thing, I guess. What do you think? Do you think there is a current winner in the interoperability? In like the adoption rates and strategies being implemented right now?
First, I wanted to say something to what you just said, because I completely agree, and this really resonates with me, because I think that also a lot of the open source philosophy plays into this, that you have self-control over what is getting created, or what kind of solution you choose. And even if it's not working for you, you can go there, fork it. If the operator quits, you can fork it and continue. So I think this is really a great thing where, also a lot of common good is coming out of the solutions that are developed there. And to your original question, I think it's really nice to have a kind of diverse set of countries and systems trying different solutions, because I think in the long run, I'm quite optimistic that the better options will become clear, and then that these options might also get more adopted from the countries that didn't choose the right option the first time.
100%, Frederick. Yep, I agree. Now, I think I realized that it's actually gone on for a bit without me actually saying hi to all the new listeners that have come in. So thank you for joining us, guys. You are listening to the Galactica Corecast. We are Galactica Network. We're a protocol for identity, for privacy, for self-sovereignty, And we're currently in DevNet stage. We're very early. If you wish to join us, if you wish to learn what we're all about, please just check you can check the pinned tweet for a start. That's the DevNet. You can also find our Discord link in there, which is the primary thing. If you join us on Discord, we'd be happy to show you the ropes, discuss what we're all about, and why you should be interested. And we can also get you onboarded into the Cypher State campaign and get you to earn your Galactica Network passport, which is not paid for with money. It is in fact earned through social contributions. No money changes hands right now. We're just looking for people to help us so that we can help them and bootstrap our initial citizens. So yeah, please just check out the links if you can, if you've got the time. So if you could also give us a like and a retweet on this space, everyone, I would really appreciate it. We would like to get as many people in here as possible, and failing that, we would love to get as many people listening to the recording as possible. So like and retweet, and if you have any comments or questions, please put them in the comments box. In addition, if you would like to come up and join us on stage and talk to us about anything that we're talking about right now, please just request. We're happy to have you up and get you involved in the discussion. We really don't bite, not at all, except Hoss sometimes. But he's fine, really, honestly. So yeah, we can carry on under that note. So please, if you wish to join us, just request. So we're actually going to move on to the bulk of the show now. So like the main topic, which is Vitalik's latest paper. So this is titled "Blockchain Privacy and Regulatory Compliance Towards a Practical Equilibrium." So essentially, it's an analog of what we've been discussing for the last 2 years or so, which is the intersection of privacy and compliance. It's an important thing in a decentralized space where typically you kind of have they're kind of mutually exclusive, the concepts of privacy and compliance. And until recently, with like recent developments in zero knowledge technology, there's just been no real way to intertwine the two. So we're very happy with current tech developments. We're very happy with the technical stack we've developed for Galactica Network. But Vitalik has produced this paper, which is I think it centers around the discussion around a protocol called privacy pools, which are essentially I would call them Tornado Cash Plus. Now we have Frederick with us, who is obviously from the tech team, who's going to understand this a lot greater than I will be able to. But I will be providing my opinions when possible and when it makes sense. But first, I'll just ask the room who's actually read the paper, or has anyone actually got an idea of what's been discussed in the paper or looked at privacy pools? Just give me a shout if you have.
So I didn't read the paper yet. It was on my radar to read this weekend because it came out, I think, just a few days ago when I was at permissionless. However, not new to privacy pools because I'm familiar with Amin's work for quite some time. He's one of the core contributors to Moloch, which is a decentralized organization operating system. And I'm not surprised he's very involved in this space because he was a very outspoken person, when Tornado Cash was sanctioned. So I'm really interested in what's going to be discussed here for sure.
Yeah, no worries. You know what? I will let Amin Solomon, I believe, was the name of the founder of Privacy Pools. Just very quickly, describe for us what that is. Just a second.
Here to present Privacy Pools version 0. It's the sequel to Tornado Cash. Show of hands, who's heard of Tornado Cash?
Okay, so yeah, it's even the main man himself is saying this is a Tornado Cash derivative of some form with added privacy features. So maybe Frederick, I don't know if you can help us with maybe describing the protocol a bit for us, or giving us a better idea for the listeners.
Yeah, sure. So obviously, I also have read the paper, and I think it's really nice because it's a different take on privacy and compliance. And maybe first, for all the people who are not familiar with Tornado Cash, Tornado Cash is a blockchain protocol that is implemented in the smart contract, where you can transfer funds. So you can input funds from one address and then withdraw it from another address. And the nice magic thing about it is that people who can view blockchain transactions cannot make the link between what came in and what goes out. So behind it, there's a lot of zero knowledge magic going on. That basically, when you want to withdraw funds from this mixer, we call it, because it's mixing funds. If you want to withdraw something, you need to provide a zero knowledge proof, proving that you have right to the funds that were deposited into the mixer. And in the mixer itself, it has a so-called UTXO model. So instead of just balances, you have basically little nodes of funds in the protocol. And in the zero knowledge proof, you prove that all of the funds you want to withdraw have not been withdrawn earlier, and that you have all the information so that you're the only person who can withdraw it. And this as a protocol was really nice in the blockchain space, because by default, blockchain is a public ledger who can be viewed by everyone. And with this technology, you have the possibility to hide the transactions. So someone takes out funds from the mixer, but you do not know where these funds are coming from. And this is really nice for privacy, but it's really bad for compliance, because also bad actors can utilize this protocol. So like a lot of technology, this can also be used for malicious purposes. And what Tornado Cash already had in the version that was, I'm not sure what the right name for this is, the version that was blocked by the, can you remind me what was the name again of the agency that blocked Tornado Cash?
I'm not sure actually. It was put on the sanctions list.
Yeah,
so
I think it's the Office of Foreign Assets Control. I think that's them.
Yeah, this is a really crazy story, because they are basically blocking a protocol, and before they were blocking people who were doing malicious stuff. But anyway, yeah, and in the early version, the Tornado Cash had this possibility also to prove compliance, where you as a user withdrew funds, you can prove to, for example, centralized exchange where you want to cash out or take an off-ramp. You can prove them from where you got the funds you took out of Tornado Cash. And this was basically disclosing what you put into the zero knowledge proof. So you had to tell them exactly what funds were put in, from what sources they came, and then how they are linked to the withdrawal that you made. And in theory, this is good. So you can convince a centralized party or a centralized exchange who has to follow compliance processes that the funds you withdrew are legit and not coming from some crypto hacks or something like this. But it has the big disadvantages that you have to disclose everything to them. So you disclose all these links that you were previously trying to hide, and also you might disclose more than just what you are withdrawing, because you're giving the centralized exchange also information about all your other accounts involved in it. And this paper from Vitalik is now adding a really nice point of doing this compliance proof in a more private way. So the goal is still that if you want to withdraw funds from the mixer, that you want to prove to a party with a zero knowledge proof that this is a compliant withdrawal, so not coming from malicious purposes. But now you can do it in a private way, and this works in simple terms by proving that your deposits are in a pool of compliant deposits. So you no longer prove that there were 1, 2 specific deposits that belong to you, but instead you prove with zero knowledge that your deposits were in a set of, let's say, 1,000 deposits who are obviously compliant. So, for example, you can. Yeah, sorry.
I was just going to ask a very quick addendum there. In that case, then the security of such a protocol is based on the size of the sets of addresses in there, right?
Yeah, this is also a really variable thing. So you can prove that you're in a small pool of very compliant deposits, or you can prove that you're in a huge pool of all but malicious deposits.
Okay,
But
I
yeah,
got you.
You're basically hiding your deposits in a pool of other deposits.
Understood. And in general, this seems like it seems like a private compliance with a pseudonymous backing. I'm just finding it difficult to envision any form of true compliance without identity backing it. I don't know what you think about that. Maybe I can come back to you in a second on that, Frederick, because I'd like to get Humpty's opinion on kind of what you've said and any opinions you might have, Humpty, so far.
Sorry, are you asking now or to come back to it later?
No. I was asking you now on kind of like what your initial opinions were based on what Frederick had said, and like I say, they're just this compliance without identity backing it.
I mean, it's interesting, right? Because I mean, obviously, we're in the space of like digital identity and kind of building solutions in that space. But to be fair, I think when you think about like identity in the Web3 space, it's just any account that we open on which you can record transactions and build a reputation from that history. So to think about like compliance and I guess compliance again, there's several different ways of like getting to that compliance. And again, it also depends on the person who wants, I guess, who's defining compliance, right? A government may require, you, for example, to verify your identity through one of their systems. They may not consider even KYC in the traditional sense, or at least in one that we're familiar with in the crypto space, to be sufficient. Others may consider ways to do maybe some sort of soft KYC, one that doesn't require you to attest to your identity using some government issued credential. But I think in terms of like what is being described here so far, at least the way that it was being described and the little bit that I've read here myself too while we've been on this call, the main differentiator between your transaction linkage, if you will, in the non-privacy preserving way, where you're just using a network to send and receive money or tokens, to and from different wallets. All of that history is public, and anyone can, kind of derive any, maybe even, private information, right? Depending on where you are transacting, and assumptions could be made about where you live, for instance. Whereas, I think that the whole ZK proof piece of this is not new, not by a mile, and definitely not unfamiliar, because I think that there's been a lot of different experiments in this area. I mean, decentralized identity being part of that as well, where there's a way to, again, obfuscate the relationship between two different accounts or transactions, if you will, where you can kind of separate the by sending funds to a pool, the relationship between the account that's sent and is then extracting that money. Whereas here, I think that's maybe where we were heading. it still allows you to kind of send transactions maybe in familiar ways, but there is a way to obfuscate it through some sort of like known address database, which I think that's the area that really interests me because, I think some may consider, and I don't have enough knowledge about what was written to say that that could potentially be a honeypot of information for a government or nefarious actor, but we'll get there, I'm sure. Hopefully that answered your question too, by the way.
Yeah, 100%. Frederick, I don't know if you want to respond to what Humpty was talking about there.
Completely agree. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I just want to do some, I guess, a couple of comparative points then. Perhaps Humpty, I don't know if you want to talk about how ontology handles compliance and this kind of like intersection of privacy and compliance, or if you would like to relate it to any of the number of protocols you're related to.
Sure. So, I mean, the first piece of just the way the technology works is ontology leverages, a W3C compliant standard, decentralized identifiers, DIDs, to generate, identities for wallet owners. And, I think one of the cool things, just personally, why I am a big fan of the ontology standard and ecosystem altogether is just the accessibility for doing all of that. I think it is, for anyone who's got any interest in this space, it isn't always the most straightforward way of going about it. So just being able to use their wallet to generate an identity, and that's it, and start building reputation on top of that, I think is, for me, one of the biggest selling points, both for their products, but also for the ecosystem they've built, and again, why I'm a fan of it. Beyond that, they're just I'm sorry, I didn't catch the real name, but I'm just going to say A-Star. They were describing, or maybe it was even Haas, because it's something we said before. We were talking about there being occasions where we're going to need to use systems that are going to necessitate different levels of compliance or different levels of identity verification or attestation. And so for those instances, ontology uses or leverages, I would say, some of the more popular and widely spread KYC service providers. But what it does differently, maybe from some other organizations and products that use KYC, is that it creates these ZK proofs, right, of your of that information. And all of that is stored at the local level. So it's not in a server somewhere. So the benefit of that, obviously, is it can take advantage, I guess, for lack of a better word, of the systems that are in place that allow for identity verification, while still providing a level of self-sovereignty and privacy along with all of that. Because it's these ZK proofs that allow for a reusable KYC. Right, one that doesn't require you to have that record on chain, have that record in some sort of private server. This is a proof that remains with you, and so based on the services then querying that information, you can reveal, again, a very binary yes or no depending on the query, and it is, again, something that is your choice. Right, you have that agency of whether or not you want to participate in that. And that game, if you will, right, where you are being asked to reveal some information, but again, not necessarily in a way that says, yeah, here's my birthday. It's like, no, I'm over 21. I'm giving you a binary yes because my ZK proof can show or attest that my birthday was before the time necessary to basically agree on that. So those are some of the products and ways that ontology develops these decentralized identities, and the way that it leverages KYC, and the way that it allows for this I guess reputation to be earned over time, but also the ability to reuse this KYC over time.
That's great, Humpty. Absolutely brilliant, and there's a lot of similarities there I can see. Frederick, I don't know if you want to give the lowdown on Galactica's methodology as far as privacy, the intersection of privacy and compliance, and anything else you want to talk about in relation to what Humpty just said?
I think it's awesome what you're working on with ontology. And obviously there are a lot of parallels to what we are doing on Galactica network, but we also want to leverage zero knowledge cryptography to let the user prove statements about their personal data. For example, the zero knowledge KYC. So a lot of what you have described is also related to Galactica in a way that we want to provide a layer one blockchain where these kinds of standards can be used and then also leveraged in smart contract protocols building on top of it.
That's really cool. I mean, I'll just say that I've always thought that it's important that there are many players in this space to develop this technology because it is not an easy problem to fix. And probably the most difficult problem is adoption of these technologies. So I'm really, whether it's similar or different or the same, I'm really excited to see what Galactica is doing, and obviously a big supporter of the technology and the ecosystem altogether. So definitely would be interested to see if there's any collaboration, as always, in kind of working with all these standards.
Yeah, that'd be great.
No doubt, Humpty. No doubt at all. This is one of the great things I love about just being able to talk in this kind of like more conversational manner through spaces. It's my favorite method of just talking to people right now, because you can just have these like genuinely collaborative conversations with protocols who like. For instance, in a bull run where the only thing that matters is money to people, they would be considered competitors by investors. Whereas right now, we can be. It's just a far more honest and collaborative effort. Obviously, we can be collaborative and honest behind the scenes during the bull run, but it's just more that investor mentality. But yeah, I really enjoy it, and it's really nice to have these chats with very similar protocols, just technical differences and maybe some ethos differences depending on how you look at things. So I'm very interested, guys. Are there any aspects that you can see of these privacy pools? I think maybe for Frederick, are there any like aspects of these privacy pools that are useful or that can be implemented in any way regarding Galactica or in protocols in general?
That's a good question. And maybe first I would like to say that the privacy pools presented in this paper and what we're doing on Galactica are similar in a way that both try to achieve compliant privacy, but the focus is a bit different. So in the paper, it's focused on this transfer of funds through the mixer, which is on the smart contract level. And on Galactica, it's more about proving compliance in a private way about personal data fitting some compliance requirements, or more general certificates or attestations of real-world data, like in the long term, maybe university diplomas or property ownership or something like this. And therefore, I think it would work really well together, and I think it can complement each other. And there it's really nice that also we're working on different levels. So Galactica is a blockchain, and this improved tornado cache solution is a smart contract. So you can basically run this on the Galactica blockchain. And then you have a system where both can have some kind of symbiosis. And for Galactica, I think this is an important thing to have on the blockchain, because it solves something that we also need. maybe to describe it, on Galactica, if you have, for example, your knowledge KYC, and you use a lot of different dApps running on Galactica, and you can, these dApps can have different requirements for compliant usage. So maybe the first step is requiring that you're over some age. The second app is requiring that you're in some jurisdiction. The third app is requiring that you, I don't know, have a connection to a couple of people or addresses. And then if you prove all these compliance requirements on chain, these disclosures can build up and kind of accumulate to a more complete picture of the person that is behind the address submitting these proofs on chain. So what we want to do to prevent this accumulation of data is that we want to give the user the possibility to split these disclosures among different addresses. So I use maybe one address to use the dApp where I have to be a certain age, and another address for the dApp where I have to live in a specific area. And this way, nobody on chain can interlink these disclosures and accumulate them. And the missing piece here is that if I now use different addresses on chain, I probably also want to transfer funds between them. And having a mixer like this, where I can move funds in a private way and still be able to prove that I'm doing this compliantly, would be a really great addition here. And I think this is also a reason why we prioritize getting some kind of mixer on the blockchain. And if you look on the website, there's also this section about programs where we want to ask the community for input and proposals. And this is one of them, to build a mixer on Galactica.
Yep, indeed. All you need to do is jump over to galactica.com. You can check out the developer portal, and on there you'll find a section called RFPs that kind of describes all the types of products that developers can come to us with a pitch, and we will pretty much immediately give you support as much as we can to get those things built. So yeah, just check out the developer portal if you are or know anyone who wishes to try developing on Galactica Network. So I'd just like to do a very quick room reset, guys. So you are listening to Galactica Corecast, guys. This is one of the podcasts that we do for Galactica Network. If you wish to find out more about us, just check out our Discord. You can find that in the profile of Galactica, which is hosting this space. Please, if you have a moment, it's free. You can jump down to the bottom right of this space, give us a like and a retweet on the space. We'd really appreciate it. It gets out the information to more people and allows more people to listen to the recording. Again, if you have any comments or questions, you're welcome to either put them in the comment section or request to speak. I realized that the listenership is quite low on a Friday night, and that's fair enough. We're not too worried about that. We're more worried about getting the information out in a quality manner. So yeah, perhaps we could just get a bit of information on the UX side of things, I think, because that's one of the tricky parts about blockchain, and especially anything involving privacy and compliance as well. So maybe we'll go to Humpty for this one. Is it possible to make any of the things that we've been talking about in a way that makes sense for a user who might be interested but not understanding a blockchain right now? So an interested party, would it be possible to make it a friendly UX for something like this?
Yeah, so it's funny, right? I love these conversations because honestly, the best part about them is how we end up going back to the beginning at the end. And we started talking about like adoption and kind of the different ways that we can go about that. And I think we talked about like maybe even leveraging like these like mid-stack systems where there's like, or somewhere in the middle where there's a level of centralization and decentralization where there's an opportunity for people to easily use them and then eventually fall deep down the rabbit hole into a much more decentralized ecosystem. And I think, and the reason why I say is that just because I think a lot of times centralized systems have a better UX. Best example I can give just from my own personal experience, even though it's sometimes a little iffy, would be like an exchange like Coinbase, right? I think for me, I remember back in 2016, that was how I fell down the rabbit hole. That was my journey. And I bought like, my first tokens on there and I was like, oh, that's cool. That was easy. I just got to connect my my bank account or my credit card, I can't remember what, to just buy into this. And then I became curious and I started reading some of the stuff that they were talking about. And then eventually I was like, oh, maybe I go into this self-sovereign money, and I created a wallet and I moved some money to that wallet. And then I started using a network. And from that network, I started like, maybe trading. And then I was starting earning for the work I was doing in crypto. And suddenly I was taking that back to the exchange. So this whole thing, it's just, to me, like, that's what's fun. It's like, how can you leverage that these different technology, or I guess UX experiences down the stack to something that then requires a level of technical skill and ability to use. And I say all of this, by the way, not just to tell you my boring story again about how I got started, but to say that when we talk about privacy pools and even Tornado Cash, I don't think it's the average user. My friends who barely care about crypto but have used a centralized exchange to buy some tokens that they feel are valuable, they are not at all interested in using any decentralized exchanges or going to OpenSea and buying an NFT, let alone deeper down the rabbit hole to think about privacy and to think about privacy preserving transactions across an open network like blockchain. So I think user experience on this one, it's I think, and this is just true for everything, we need to understand who the users are going to be and then build something that is equal to I guess their needs. But it'd be interesting as crypto adoption grows and scales and we get those million billion people that we keep talking about bringing into the space, where they have an understanding of the necessity to work with crypto tools and buy, hold, sell, use crypto across the ecosystem. And of course, as we understand then the differences between centralized and institutional banking systems, and and the way that we have an opportunity to leverage privacy technology here and add that layer to our interactions in this space to then leverage this technology. And then at what layer is that going to be? Are they going to be going to privacypools.com or whatever this ends up, where we can interact with this? Or is this integrated to the systems that we've become familiar with that probably have better UX, and this just becomes a protocol in an application? Hopefully, again, that answered your question. I know I can get excited and talk about a lot of things at the same time.
It's all good, Humpty. I like it when you get excited, and you always provide value, which is the main thing. And I honestly agree. We're not serving we're not serving the 95%. We're serving the 5%. That's the strange thing about the crypto ethos. Not that many people actually hold it, but the people who do represent the people who care about their rights, care about human rights in general, digital human rights. So we're kind of as a space, we're trying to the people who actually will adopt protocols for privacy, for self-sovereignty, who want to actually be their own banks, who want to own their own data and control who actually gets to see that data. those people represent about maybe 5%. That's probably being generous even. So like Humpty says, like a lot of this stuff, it's kind of catered to the kind of people who would want to be part of a cipher state. You know, the kind of people who require the attributes that I just mentioned and the ability to use them in a space that is an extension of society, like a genuine extension of society, where they can apply all those attributes. So they can apply their self-sovereign holdings, they can apply their identity in a private manner. All of these things they can do in a space and do everything they would like to do without interference, without corruption, without and in a trustless manner. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Hoss, please, mate, you have your hand up. Apologies.
Yeah, so I mean, privacy has always been a huge component of myself. I mean, that's kind of my background is an account. It's I'm a tax accountant and been in finance for a long time now. And when I got into the space, metaphorically, I always just looked at a blockchain as a decentralized accounting ledger. So that kind of just always resonated with me. But at the same aspect, I always thought this is unsustainable. No real money is going to use this because of the fact that if I send you $50, now you know my address and you can see everything I've ever done. Or if we go to a store and, use it, or if you meet some of your buddies that you haven't seen in a decade, you're like, yeah, I got you. And you're going to use crypto, then like the merchant would know. Like it just never made sense for that sense of it. Cause I'm like, in the competitive realm of finance, institutions and like hedge funds and all that, they have to produce their records every quarter. And, that's okay. But imagine if every transaction they do, or like Warren Buffett or anyone, like, instantly they do it, then like there's no competitive advantage. You could just copy it. But, oh, Warren Buffett did this. He's a pretty smart guy. Let me just copy all his stuff. And so there always had to be this layer of solution. There's different ways of doing it. I think ZK is cool on Ethereum, especially because it may actually make it a little bit usable. Because I mean, I don't know people, even if you have money, who wants to pay $20, $30 every transaction. So maybe that'll help with that. But yeah, privacy is huge. It's sad that most humans, by default, we're kind of programmed not to care about your privacy, and that has to change. And it's a dangerous game that people play, with like these public ENSs and stuff, especially if you have a bunch of, assets on there and people know like, oh, that's your wallet. You own this Bored Ape or you own this. It can be dangerous. So I always urge on the side of privacy, and it's nice. And anyone that's working on that facet of this space, I'm a big fan of, whether they're in Cosmos or Ethereum or their own chain or whatever's going on, because we need it. It's our rights. Privacy is a human right. It always has been, always should be, and always will be, hopefully. And yeah, I mean, that's great. I'm all for people that are pushing the space forward with the privacy, because it's like overlooked. It's like the thing that's not like, I don't know, sexy or whatever, right? But it's much needed. It has to, or else the money won't come into this space anyways, because no one's going to want to put all their wealth on chain or all their finances on chain, and it's a public ledger, so anyone can see it. It's just not going to work. So that's my point.
Yeah, I mean, that is a good point, Poss. It really is.
Hello.
And I think, oh, sorry, Hamza, I'll just give you 2 seconds and we'll be with you, mate. So I think privacy is one of those things where you have, you should, like for social interaction, like the same kind of level of social interaction you have in the off-chain real life world, you kind of need that normal general expectation of privacy when you want it and when you need it. So yeah, I think it's incredibly important for a functioning society to have that ability, at least, and not for at least the default to be private with the option of like disclosure if you want to, rather than the other way around. Sorry, well, we have Hemsir, who's joined us on the speaker panel. Did you want to have a word with us about anything we've been speaking about? Sorry, I hope I got your name right. Hemsir Mohammed, is that right?
Hello. I am calling ontology queen. My English is not very good, but I follow your project closely. Good luck.
Oh, thank you very much. That's very much appreciated, mate. So I'm sure Humpty also appreciates that as well.
Yeah, thanks so much. We do our best in terms of creating content and keeping people abreast. I don't even know if we're getting close to close, but I will add, since it was brought up, if anybody wants to learn more about like what we're doing, I think the best way of following Ontology as a project is their blog. They do a fantastic job at writing updates there regularly. I think there's like 2 updates a week, which is pretty wild. And that you can get all the links. Just go to ont.io or go to the Twitter account, which is here. But I'm attending from both accounts, so that account is not speaking. And check out the blog; it's on Medium. And thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great answer. Thank you. And we also have Eric Walker, who has just joined us on the stage. Welcome. And if you have anything to speak about, please. If you have anything in relation to what we've been speaking about, that's fine too. Sorry, Eric. I don't know if you have unmuted or not. Thanks, Os.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine, Eric. Thanks. Can you hear us?
Well, I can't hear you, but I guess I'll listen back for your response. But I'm just going to say real quick, one of you guys touched on the option of privacy, and I'm definitely not.
Hello? Is it just me or?
I'm in the same boat. I can't hear anything either.
Okay. It's sometimes really interesting if you don't know if you are the one who has got disconnected or someone else. So
yeah,
Eric,
we lost Citizen 42 as well. He's in the stage.
He's coming back. He's back again as a listener. Can you make him a speaker again, Ross?
Yeah, I just did.
Great.
I was able to hear Eric at first, and then I don't know if it got rugged or what, but I don't know. That's been a good conversation. I don't know if anyone's trying to talk right now. Hopefully not, but I don't want to like overpower anyone. But no, man, it's like privacy is obviously very important, and there has to be. It just has to be. They're just because it's very dangerous, not to have privacy and everything's just on there. Like I don't just like get to log in and look at your bank account. But, oh, this guy has this much in his bank account. Nor I wouldn't do that because I don't really give a shit. But there's people out there, it's scary. Like imagine if your neighbor knew what your freaking wallet address was, and they'd be like, "Oh, my neighbor's worth this. Let's go bother him." Like. It's scary.
100% Nos. Sorry, I assume you guys can hear me now. I couldn't hear Eric, so I left the stage and then came back up to see if I could fix that. I wasn't sure if it was Eric or me who rugged, so it might have just been Eric. I'm not sure.
That's some meta social engineering because no one could hear Eric and actually got you to get out.
Oh my
really
goodness.
Interesting.
Okay, well that went well. Eric, I apologize, mate, and I'd love to hear your opinions on privacy if you have a moment still. Yeah. Other than that, I think it's probably about time that we started to wrap up the space anyway. If we want to do a slow wrap up, that'd be good. So yeah, if we maybe go around the stage and get like a couple of final thoughts, and then we'll carry on with our day. Enjoy our Friday evenings. I think we've just got Eric coming back up, so we'll get his opinion and then we'll wrap up. Yep, we can hear you, Eric. At least I can.
If you can hear me, I was just gonna ask about Zcash real quick. I'm not as technical as you guys are, but I've been basically shilling to my friends that the option of privacy is very important in my mind. I just want to get your guys' opinion on that.
Okay, guys, Zcash and the option of privacy. I think Hoss, you just had a bit of a comment on the option of privacy being.
How do I hang this thing up? I'm not very good with this.
I just removed you, buddy. Go ahead, citizen.
Okay, so is Eric that can't hear me, right? Is that the way around it is?
He should be able to hear you now. I put him down to the stage, but go ahead.
Okay, cool. I think Eric was just asking a question on basically on Zcash specifically and the option of privacy generally. So maybe Frederick, do you have opinions on Zcash as a privacy solution?
I think it's a great platform. As a technical developer, I'm amazed on the way how early they went on the zero knowledge train and did some crazy stunts to do the trusted setups with generating random numbers on the plane and so on. So this is most of what I know about them. I'm not so deep into how their protocol actually works, but I think having a solution for payments that is private is really an important thing in a world where you want to do a lot of things without risking some other parties to use this information against you.
100%, Frederick, and I hope that's helpful, Eric. I mean, the way that Galactica approaches privacy is that you have selective disclosures, so you can choose which parts of your identity or which aspects of yourself to prove to a DApp or to another entity on chain. So you have a self-sovereign identity. You have your Galactica passport, which basically represents you. It is essentially a proof of KYC, which is a private KYC. So the link between off-chain and on-chain is obfuscated, so you can't any KYC provider that you use doesn't know your blockchain address. Which is one of the key points. So you can have a KYC that's provable on chain without anyone actually knowing the link between the two things, and that allows you to basically, like I say, just prove almost anything that you can have on chain to another party without giving up your privacy in any way, shape, or form using zero knowledge proofs. We call our solution ZK certificates. So yeah, privacy is a massive aspect of a Galactica network, but it's really what we've been talking about tonight. This was with Vitalik's privacy pools paper. It kind of all links into that with the concept of the intersection between compliance and privacy. So you can have that ability to prove yourself, in addition to being able to prove yourself to off-chain entities even. While maintaining that privacy to the highest degree. So yeah, privacy, massive. Yes, please, everyone, always. I guess is the end result.
Yeah, I was going to add to it. I would feel kind of rude not giving them a shout out because I appreciate anyone that's building privacy. In fact, when I first got into Cosmos, one of the first chains that I really enjoyed using and I still enjoy using is Secret Network because it's privacy by default as well, and you can prove your transactions, but you have a private key and no one else gets to see it, and you can send transactions to other people private. There's the Silk stable coin, which is backed by a global basket of assets, and Shape Protocol has a cool DeFi protocol where everything is private within the protocol, but you could still show your records if you want to. it's it's more sustainable that way, as opposed to like, oh, this is Haas's address. Let's see every transaction he's done, because I have too much free time on my hand. It's not going to work that way. And I'm all for people building tools. And it was cool that I was at Interop Summit in Denver back in February, and I don't know the founder of ZK, but he was there, and they were talking about ZK. It was like a privacy little 30-minute or 45-minute little back and forth, and it was like a bunch of different players in the privacy realm of crypto. So I'm a big fan. I don't care who it is or where they're at. I'll check it out. So thank you everyone that's working on privacy in this space.
Yep. Big shout out to anyone who's doing it, including Humpty on the speaker panel with Ontology Network, not just privacy, obviously, but the full identity solution with a lot of parallels to Galactica Network, who we very much enjoy the takes and insights from. So yeah, check out the Ontology profile. Give everyone on the stage, in fact, a like, and make sure you follow what's going on, because both Galactica Network, Ontology, we're all doing what we're doing for your benefit. I can only speak for Galactica, obviously, but we are trying to follow the true ethos of crypto, trying to provide this intersection between privacy and compliance, while also balancing that tightrope of staying true to crypto's ethos. It's an undertaking that's taken a long time to even come to a development stage, and we're doing it all for you. I think it's probably time to just give a very final thought and goodbye. Humpty, I don't know if you have a final thought before we wind down.
Nothing, I guess, especially important. Just first of all, thank you, to yourself and Cosmo and Haas and Galactica for again inviting me here. I really have begun to really appreciate these conversations a lot more. I think y'all dived deep into some very important topics, and you gave me some homework. I started the reading, not the white paper. My gosh, I've been in this space for too long. The entry that Vitalik wrote, along with the Amin and some other folks on the space of privacy pools. I'm going to be doing a deeper dive over the weekend. I'm excited about that. Take a moment, maybe some tea, and read along with that. But I guess if anybody wants to follow, Ontology to learn more about decentralized identity, I mean, we're doing some cool stuff like Galactica does, and I think for that reason alone, I look especially forward to more collaborations, both technical and non-technical, like these spaces, to have these conversations, because I think, we're doing some interesting things, and happy to have partners like y'all to, think through ideas and build cool stuff together.
Yeah, I feel like we need to make a Cosmos map of potential cipher states, or at least the concept of. Because I feel like you would probably come under that category alongside us, and like I say, it's this ability for people to choose where they interact. It's massively important, and it's always good to have you here, Matt. Frederick, do you have a final thought? I just want to say goodbye.
Thanks everyone. It was a great space. Really nice topic, in my opinion. This paper about blockchain privacy and regulatory compliance. So everyone who's listening to this and interested in the topic, I encourage you to give it a read, because I also think it's well written and explains a lot of the basics, how the system works quite well. I really enjoyed listening to all of you. Hearing about what Ontology is doing was really interesting. And for everyone, we're always interested in hearing your opinion. We also have a Discord where you can write us. I'm always really curious about what you write in the AMA section, and also really grateful for all the feedback you can give us on how you as users or potential partners and collaborators want to use or want to use the Galactica blockchain.
100% everyone. You heard the man. Best way to get involved is to join a Discord. So if you click on the Galactica profile, first of all, just give it a follow. Within that profile, you'll find the Discord link, and from there, we will help you with anything you need in order to get onboarded and to learn what we're all about and then what we're trying to build, and gain your Galactica passport just by doing some social contributions. So, you can just post a little bit, chat a little bit, get enough reputation or points or whatever it's called in Discord, and we can onboard you with a Galactica passport. No money involved, just social presence. Okay, guys. So this has been an absolutely great space. I've really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed speaking to Humpty from Ontology, Hoss as always, and Frederick from our tech team. Absolutely incredible takes and a great speaker panel. So thank you guys for your questions. There was actually a question in the chat, which I so apologize that I didn't see at the time, but I will be answering that in chat. So we'll get that done because the person who asked the question has actually left the stage already. So we'll answer that in the chat. So guys, if you can just make sure you check the pin tweet and follow us on Discord, follow the Galactica account, follow the Ontology account, and follow Cosmos Hoss and Frederick, of course. And we will see you next time. We may well be having another space on Tuesday. We will be updating you with that on the announcements. I'm going to try and make this a more regular thing again, whether it's on the Tuesday or the Friday. I want it to be regular, and so you guys will know that we're always going to be here. So yeah, thank you guys for joining. We hope to see you next time. Have an absolutely wonderful weekend, and we will see you on the next episode of the Galactica Corecast. Thanks, everyone. See you soon.
Yes.